We'll just hop right into this. First question from Brooksy8316. What is your post-workout meal? So when I'm on prep, my post-workout meal is always cream of rice and whey protein. Obviously, at whatever point we are in prep, the amount of cream of rice will be different because we manipulate the carbs, but always 50 grams of protein from isolate post-workout. So that's my post-workout meal. N. Fraley 00. What's been the best part of your journey to hopefully becoming pro alongside of your dad? It's just been obviously, hopefully is the key word. Hopefully, not doing anything to leave any stones unturned, but nothing's promised, right? But best part about this journey that we've been on thus far probably has just been, the experiences that we've gotten to share. Like at the shows, winning the shows. Obviously I've worked in some capacity with Labrada for the last 6 or 7 years now. So, experience of we had on business trips and just in the office and stuff. But it's surreal sometimes because, to me, he's dad, but at the same time, like when I really take a step back and look at it, it's like, oh shit, he's one of the best bodybuilders ever too. So to have him along with me on this journey has been pretty cool, and I honestly feel like the journey just getting started. So yeah.
What I always say is it's the path that makes the champion, and it's been a great path. It's great to see him develop, getting better year after year. And we feel really good going into the Nationals, and hopefully that's opening the door to a very illustrious pro career.
Definitely. All right, touched on this one at the gym, but we'll do it while he's here just so you can all see that him and I are on the same page about it. Why do you call him Lee instead of Dad? Just curious. Okay, so I'm 26 years old. And obviously I am employed by him, so he's also my boss. And, I don't know, it's kind of weird, like when we're in a public setting, like at the office, like you don't holler Dad at your boss, you holler Lee or Mr. Labrada. So it's just kind of, at home when it's just me and my immediate family, he's Dad. But, in a public setting or trade shows, this, that, and another, he's Lee Labrada.
I think also it's just the level of comfort that we have with one another. So there's plenty of times that he calls me Pops, and plenty of times that he calls me Lee, just depending on the setting. It's all good.
Yep. So how long have you been training Hunter? Seriously? I guess that one's for you.
I got you on that one.
Yeah.
Like, how long have I been
how long have you been training me?
Okay.
So, he actually...
I've been training 40 years.
Yeah, he's been training a long time.
A long time.
Lee does not actually do any of my programming or my training in the gym. My training style that I've developed is definitely one that's my own when you compare what I do to what he did. And, obviously it's one of those different strokes, different folks kind of deal. I feel like, like I said, it's different strokes, different folks. Everyone has their own training style. Everyone kind of finds what works best for them. So, kind of been able to arrive at what I feel works best for me, from learning from him, learning from people that I find to have, a level of knowledge that I can pick something up from, and then just, going on this point, like over 10 years of trial and error. He talked about how he's been training for 40 years now. I've been in the weight room at least 4 or 5 days a week since I've been 14 years old, so I've definitely put in over 10 years at this point too.
Yep. You learn along the way, trial and error. You learn from different people. Obviously exercise technology has advanced quite a bit in the last 30 years. And, Hunter has, made good use of that. He's learned a lot, knows a lot, has developed his own style over time. And, at the end of the day, a lot of the bodybuilding workouts at their heart have the principle of overloading the muscle to stimulate growth. There's just different ways of applying it. So, there's just a lot of commonalities.
Definitely. Okay, sodium use slash artificial sweeteners, and when do you cut slash add them during prep? I'll say this right now, if you are doing anything drastic with your sodium in the final week or couple days leading up to your show, you're making a very big mistake. Your muscles need salt to get a pump, and it's one of those things, people just love to try and twist a bunch of knobs on the control panel at the end, and sodium's one of those ones that should not be adjusted drastically. Maybe like a 25 to 50% reduction in what you're using, but to go from, like me personally, I aim for, around 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams of sodium a day. For me to go to that, to like little to none, that would cause a huge problem with my physique. I wouldn't be able to get a pump. I'd flatten out. I'd honestly look like shit. So sodium's definitely not something I recommend, drastically manipulating at any point leading up to your show. And sodium is so critical for you to get a pump in the gym, especially my pre-workout meal. I'll do like 1,500 milligrams of sodium in my pre-workout meal from Himalayan sea salt. So it's a critical ingredient for pumps. You should not be scared of salt. It's not going to make you hold water if you're being responsible with your use. And it's very much so one of those things that your body just kind of gets used to the amount that it's taking in. It reaches a level of homeostasis with the amount of salt that you're using. As far as artificial sweeteners go, everyone's got their opinion on that. You know what they say about opinions. Every show I've ever done, artificial sweeteners have been in the whole time. I never dropped them out. Obviously the supplements that I use have some in them. Walden Farm syrup, stuff like that. So I've never cut them out, and I've never really felt like it's made a big difference if I have, because I have experimented. So like I said, everyone's different on that, but that's my personal opinion.
I don't think that artificial sweeteners really make any bit of a difference in contest prep. Yeah. I fall into that camp.
That's the camp I fall into too. And before all the keyboard warriors start attacking Lee and I about how unhealthy and bad for you that artificial sweeteners are, I'm not arguing the healthiness of them. I'm arguing how they impact your physique in terms of getting ready for a show. The healthiness of them is a whole nother subject and a can of worms that I'm not going to open. Okay, this is a good one. So, Chris Massaro, see you in a couple weeks, buddy. Looking forward to it. Where did your dad learn to pose?
Well, over time, just by watching the Mr. Olympia routines of the greats like Ed Corney, Mohammed McAway, Frank Zane, and then taking the best things that I could learn from watching the greats, and then developing my own style. I've worked with a professional ballet choreographer as well in the past, and just developed my own style over time.
Posing something that's very, very personal. That's something that I've discovered, and that's something that he's preached to me from the get-go. And so, people always are like, oh, you need to pose exactly like your dad. Like, no, I don't. That was how he did it. And, how I do it, there's a ton of influence from him, but there's also influence from other people that I've found to enjoy their posing. And, obviously, while on the subject of posing, some poses are very flattering on some people and not on others. So I've arrived at the poses that I like, that present my physique in the best light, in my opinion, and kind of arrived at my own posing style. That being said, obviously, he's about as involved as it can get when it comes to the choreography and truly polishing the routine out. So, yeah.
Posing is it's an artistic expression. So in the gym, you're building your body, you're sculpting your body, and then when it comes time to present it, that's a very personal thing. So it has to feel good to you. It has to look good. As Hunter said, different poses look better on different people, and so you have to choose the right poses. You have to have the right transitions. And at the end of the day, hopefully, have a great posing routine.
This is a good one. This is where you and I were at not too long ago.
Okay.
What tips do you have for an 18-year-old looking to compete in bodybuilding? Okay, so I'm not getting old by any stretch of the imagination. I'm only 26, but I started doing this and really wanting to, be a great bodybuilder when I was 18, 19 years old. And at the time, it was before the FDA had really cracked down on pro hormones. All of my friends were getting huge because they were taking them. They were getting stronger. They were getting bigger. And, in the worst way, I was like, well, I want to get big. I want to do these supplements. Like, I'm tired of being small kind of deal. And, he was extraordinarily adamant about not doing anything like that because it can obviously really mess up your body. And hindsight's 20/20. I'm so glad I didn't end up doing anything like that. But the point I'm getting at is being 18 years old, you are still developing mentally, physically, and you don't need to be doing anything crazy to your physique. You're circulating testosterone and you're circulating growth hormone at our all-time natural physiological highs. Some of the greatest gains that I made were from 18 to 21, and it was naturally and eating just a shit ton of whole food. So my biggest advice for the young guys coming up is don't be in a hurry. Take care of your body. You only have one. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And, I was talking about how all my friends, and then I see all these guys, like coming up and doing the teen national shows and this and that, and it's just like, it looked so unattainable at the time, and they were so much bigger, but, to be honest, there's not one that I haven't surpassed or am better than now that I can think of. So it's one of those things. Bodybuilding is a marathon, not a sprint, and especially at 18 years old, the first and foremost is build a good base and do it healthily.
Yep, I would agree with that. As far as training, nutrition, compound movements, training heavy, high intensity, don't overtrain, because that's one of the biggest mistakes that the beginners make, and then have a good nutritional plan.
When dropping body fat, do you favor fasted high-intensity interval training or post-workout low-intensity steady state, and why? Okay, this is an easy one for me. Whenever I introduce cardio into my prep, I always like to do it post-training. So I'm not personally a huge fan of fasted. I'm not really a huge fan of fasted for anyone that's even in reasonable shape. If you're way behind, it might be something that you need to do, but doing hard cardio when there's no nutrients or anything in your body is a surefire way to burn up a bunch of muscle in addition to fat. So that's my opinion on fasted. Going back to high intensity interval versus low intensity steady state and why in post-workout. So I'm not going to call it low intensity because it's not low intensity. The entire time I'm doing my cardio, my heart rate's between 145 and 155, but it is steady state on the stairs and it is post-training. Couple reasons for that. When I'm prep, the most important thing that you can do for your physique in terms of getting it in shape, burning fat, and giving yourself that gnarly look is not cardio. It's truly getting the most out of your training sessions, truly pushing your body, and leaving it all on the gym floor. Once you do that, a couple things have happened. You've obviously used up the bulk of your energy for what's important for the day, which is preserving muscle and improving your look and your training. Second thing is, high-intensity weight training has been proven time and time and time again to burn way more fat than cardio does. So that's another reason why it's important that I like to do it after my training, because I like to do what's going to help me the most when I have the most energy. Lastly, doing your cardio post-workout, as long as you're quick about it, if you finish a really intense workout, moving at the pace that I move and moving at the pace that I feel like you should be moving while you're on prep, your heart rate's already jacked when you get on those stairs or elliptical or treadmill or whatever it is that you might do your cardio on. So instead of spending the first 5 or 7 minutes getting your heart rate up to a zone that's going to be beneficial to you, you hop on and within 30 seconds or a minute my heart rate's already up where I want it to be burning as much fat as possible. So that's why I'm a big proponent of, like I said, I'm not going to call it low intensity steady state, but steady state cardio post training.
So what do you think is too much cardio? How much cardio is too much cardio?
That always is one of those things. It's dependent on so many variables. There's obviously people that have a hard time losing body fat that are going to have to do you know, a lot of cardio, whether it be an hour post-workout or, you know, 45 minutes fasted in the morning, 45 minutes after they get done training, this, that, and another. I've always kind of been of the opinion, if you're having to do double sessions and they're longer than 45 minutes, you're eating too much food or you have some kind of metabolic damage going on and your metabolism isn't functioning the way it should be. So that's kind of the ceiling for where I'll take anyone that I work with on prep is 45 minutes twice a day. And if it's taking more than that to start seeing a change in body fat, one of three things is happening. They're cheating, you're feeding them too much, or they have a metabolic issue, like I said.
Maybe a thyroid that's too slow or something.
Slow thyroid, yeah, something. So
yeah,
that's my opinion on amounts of cardio. Best exercise for lower back. So isolation, obviously hypers, weighted hypers if you're strong enough to do them weighted. Compound motion, lower back, deadlift and rack pulls, tried and true movements. That's basically all I would do for lower back.
What about rep range, Hunter? Repetition range?
Rep range, I've always been of the opinion, and you know, like research shows that for maximal hypertrophy, you want to be somewhere between 8 to 12 reps, and then talking about tension, you want to have like 50 to 70 seconds worth of time under tension to really you know, like stimulate maximum hypertrophy. And that's actually a study that Charles Poliquin did, rest in peace, but that was definitely, time under tension is definitely one of the training variables that I pay the most attention to, because I feel like it's one that allows you to make the most difference in your training with. Do you run for your prep or just do the treadmill? I do not run or do the treadmill. I am pretty much exclusively a Stairmaster guy. Why? Because it doesn't beat my knees and ankles as bad as running on a treadmill. In order to get my heart rate up high enough walking on a treadmill, I have to have the incline and the speed jacked so high that it's like my calves feel like they're going to fall off before I get anywhere near how long I have to be on there for. And then with the stairs, I really feel like if you put your mind to it and sit there and really squeeze through every step, I feel like you're actually getting something out of it. You're able to actually get some more extra glute work and calf work staying up on your toes, so it's not just mindless cardio. How long have you been lifting seriously? Lee hit his number on the head. You're 40 plus years into this, and like I said, I've been in the weight room at least 4 or 5 times a week since I've been 14, so 12 years now. And of those 12 years, you know, like my nutrition's nowhere near where it is right now, but you know, it was definitely for 12 years I've been eating at least 5 meals a day. I was carrying food with me to high school. I was eating 5 or 6 times a day religiously, and so yeah, that's the biggest thing is the consistency with the food. All right, how to enhance posing.
How to enhance posing?
Yeah, I guess like get better. Do it a lot. I know that sounds pretty intuitive, but the only way you're gonna get better at something is doing it a lot, and you know, just progress with it. At first, you won't be able to hold the poses for as long as you maybe should be. At first, you might not be able to hit it exactly how you like to hit it without having a mirror in front of you. But by the time that your show rolls around, you should be able to hold every single one of your mandatories for at least 10 seconds and do them, like all of your mandatories and quarter turns in your sleep. It should be second nature. It shouldn't be something you have to think about. And that only comes through just brutally tedious, repetitive practice. So to answer your question, practice.
As far as freestyle posing goes, as Hunter mentions, start by doing the poses in the mirror, and then graduate to doing them with a video camera, not looking in the mirror, so that you can get a very clear picture of what you look like, especially in things like back shots and side shots and that type of thing. And then you can make small adjustments in the routine, videotape again, and it gives you a feedback loop so that you can get consistently better.
All right, so I probably got asked by like 5 or 6 people about the split that I'm on and what my favorite split is. So I'll tell you what I was doing, what I've been doing for this prep. So until this prep, for probably 7 years, I trained the same thing on the same day of the week, and literally gotten to the point where I think about the days of the week in terms of, oh, it's chest day, not Monday. So that split, I was training chest and triceps Monday, quads and calves on Tuesday. I was taking Wednesday off for having an active rest day, so like doing cardio and abs. Thursday was a back and bis day. Friday was a shoulders and triceps day. Saturday was hamstrings and calves. And then Sunday was a more vertical pull focused on blood flow back day, and then biceps. So I was training both parts of my arms twice a week. I was training shoulders twice a week because I'd throw in some laterals on the chest day, but that's what I was doing. And then I started dealing with the bicep tendonitis that I've made you all very aware of by now at this point. And because of that, when I first started this prep, I really couldn't train shoulders that well, and biceps I couldn't train that hard either. So went from what I'd been very used to a true push, pull, legs day off, with the leg day alternating focus between quads and calves and hamstrings and calves. So in the past, on that split that I'd been on for 7 years, I was training my big body parts once a week, and really just putting the hammer down on them, like heavy sets, compound everything. Always felt like I got hit by a bus, and I grew like a weed on it, but it caught up with my body because I wasn't very good about taking breaks when I should have after shows, and like really listening. I was just pushing. And I feel like that's what caused the issue on my shoulders. So moving on to what I'm doing right now, that push-pull leg day off repeat. It's funny how that saying goes, everything happens for a reason. I never would have done this unless I absolutely had to, which I did absolutely have to. I had to alter my training style, but training, chest, shoulders, triceps all on the same day, and, really getting to, I guess, like, focus more on, like, the workout as a whole, because, like, I'm training chest, but my anterior deltoids are getting used a lot, and so I'm not having to do as much shoulder pressing as I am when I get done. I'm able to focus more on the medial delt. So it's just been a different change of pace. And then obviously I touched on this when I was up in Dallas in our last episode. The new splits basically allowed me to double my frequency, which, because I'm not able to go as hard and as heavy as I was in terms of poundages and like exercise selection. Like I haven't really been able to do much barbell pressing of any kind. I feel like that bump in frequency, that doubling in frequency, has made up for any ground that I might have lost from that, and actually improved my physique and made it look significantly more muscular and harder this time around. So
I think you actually look harder and bigger as a result. And I used that same routine incidentally, during my competitive years, which was to say the push, pull, and legs.
Yeah. So, as far as that split goes, I'm a fan of it. Once everything's perfectly healthy, like in a perfect world, I'd probably modify it a little bit to where there was a shoulder and arm day in there somewhere, just because chest, shoulders, and triceps, whenever you're pressing both for chest and shoulders, is a pretty hard workout. So that's how I'd modify it. Like after this show, once I get everything healthy, I'll probably stick to the push-pull legs with that added in, like shoulder arm day somewhere. I haven't really thought about it that much, but yeah. If you left a question and it didn't get answered this time, like I said, keep an eye out on my story and make sure you get a question or two submitted for next time we do this. We'll definitely do it at least one more time, probably twice more. Probably do one the week of Nationals while him and I are in Miami, so that'll be a good one. And then
before or after you eat?
Yeah. But so anyways, gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna take y'all inside. Him and I are actually about to start splicing up some of my posing music, and just kind of get a feel for what song I want to use. We got a couple in mind. We just need to make some modifications to them, and sit down and really be able to listen to them how we envisioned them for posing, and then start constructing a routine from there. So see y'all in the studio.